It is Tuesday night, which means it's time to talk Halloween, Star Wars, and a few other things on tonight's show agenda in terms of pop culture news. We also have an announcement that will not have a ton of details attached to it, but some of you that have followed us a very long time might be intrigued with what that is. So we have that to get to as well. But first and foremost, tonight's show is dedicated to our friend Steven, who many of you might know better as Craven Something Scary. He has recently passed, and tonight's show is for him, and this is The Mask of Fear.
Oppression is the mask of fear.
Welcome back to The Mask of Fear. I'm Sean, joined as always by my partners in crime, Mr. Giggity Giles himself, the Grand Moff. Randy, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Just had a bad sports weekend and leading into month end at work. And it's just been one of those things where it's like, you know what? I need some time to just kind of chill and bro out. And here we are. So, yeah, man, how are you doing?
Better days for sure. Better days. Also joining us, we won't go with his normal nickname tonight, but Johnny, what's going on?
Oh,
Doesn't feel like a
caught me
jokey mood
mid-sneeze.
tonight. Sorry.
Oh, I'm doing okay. I don't know what Randy was talking about. There were no sports this weekend. They don't exist. It's it's one of those days. You're right. It's one of those shows. Just doesn't feel more than blah.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I just want to give a shout out to the people in the chat sending in some kind words right now for Stephen. Linton says, R.I.P. Stephen, sad news. My condolences go to his family. And Joel adds in, R.I.P. Stephen. What a great person he was. Yeah, so let's dive into this a little bit off the top, and then we can move on to a form of escapism that hopefully for tonight will be a little therapeutic for us all. So I didn't find out till yesterday that he had passed away. I knew he wasn't in great health, but I didn't know that this was a possibility. We were far more vocal with one another back in like the heyday of Fandom Empire. I'd say before Kills came out and through the end of Ends being out, he'd come on our channel a couple of times. He was nice enough to invite me onto his channel a couple of times. I think Dean may or may not have been there. Dean or Mike Bish, one of those guys back in the day. as well over on his channel. And look, the best way to describe Steven would be to peel back the curtain a little bit on what goes on in certain content creating communities. And a lot of it is doorkeepers, and a lot of people don't want to see other people get elevated. They don't want to see them achieve the heights that they have, and or they're looking to make a quick buck to provide just a little bit of help. And Steven was never that. Like, I can tell you outright right now, any Scream information that we talked about on this channel, and this goes for like the last 3 or 4 years, that wasn't something that was out there on a major trait, came from Steven. He was super well connected, and Scream's got some divisiveness amongst its fan base, and I always thought Steven did a good job of trying to bring both sides together and hear out both sides. And he was never any of what I just mentioned. There was no. He didn't play the game. He wasn't there to go up against anyone else or try to big time anyone else. He was an open door for a lot of people. I know he did a lot of stuff with Killjoy Jake. I think it was Toronto Freddy back in the day that actually turned me on to Steven. And it's just sad because, he's gone too soon, and it's another, bright and talented and a very kind individual taken from us. And Johnny, I don't know if you remember Steven too much, but I know we've talked about him on the channel. I know he was on with you once. I was looking at a picture. We had a open mic night once on Fandom Empire Live when it was the blue, black, and white logo. And at times we had 7, 8, 9 people on there, and he was one of them, and he just sort of fit right in like a glove. And it's just, I will say this: the good part about the content creating community is, well, not everyone is like this. Those that do care and do give a damn rally around people and their families and their friends during times like this, and you find out really quickly who's a decent person and who's not. I know you guys didn't know Steven like I did, but do you want to say a few words here before we move on?
I mean, I can't really, add much to what you said. Obviously, my interactions with him were much less than yours were, but anytime, I want to say it was a litmus test of the person, joining us on one of those roundtables, but it kind of was, to a degree, because you always figured out very quickly in those roundtables, whether someone gets it or someone doesn't get it. And to fit in on the roundtable is not easy. You either kind of fade into the background or you find a way to stand out, and you did, and he fit right in. Like you said, he fit right in. He was just one of the guys. He wasn't someone who we did much with, but I vaguely remember it. I can't say I have any specific memories of it or anything, but the name, as we've been talking, has become more, I don't want to say vivid, but you pointing out that he was on one of the roundtables with us back in those days, like, oh, that's, like, it's unfortunate. It really is, because you're right. He did fit in. He wasn't one of the, stand on your own side and you're either with me or against me types. And that's very rare, in this space, and we need more of that in it. That's for sure. You can love something, you can hate something, but, to be someone, I don't want to say in the middle, but to be someone who can explore both sides is rare, in the content creation game. And, anytime you lose someone, it's rough, it's hard, there's no question about that. And it's just, it's unfortunate when you lose a voice like that in the community, and it'll be missed. That's the core of it.
Randy, I know you didn't get a chance to meet Steven, I don't believe so. I don't think he can share any personal experiences, but maybe just a few words from the community creating side of things.
Yeah, obviously, first and foremost, my condolences to friends and family. Clearly, a bright light snuffed out way too soon. Um, the only thing we can do now to honor his memory is just continue to talk about the things that he loved and that he stood for, and um, try to put our best foot forward in his memory, just so that everybody can still share in the experience and show the impact he's had on each and everybody that's ever met with him, spoken with him, and had the chance to do content with him. So here's hoping that even though things are what they are, um, everybody can take a positive spin and do good in his memory.
Yeah, I will definitely see Screen 7 from a different perspective now. Um, just a solid human being, a great content creator. Um, never liked to be a part of any of the drama, which it's unfortunate whenever we've been a part of it. And he just was a super kind, caring, creative human being. And, if I can give Scream fans a bit of advice when you go see this movie, just enjoy it. He was very much, yes, he was on the stew train, as Justin pointed out. Craven, Craven Something Scary, his passion project there. There's very few people that were or even are as connected as Steven was when it came to Scream information. But I will say this: he would want you to go enjoy the movie when it comes out, and not nitpick it for being more like this or it being more like that. And um, go see it, and when it comes out here, I think, what is it, January, February, and just enjoy it for what it is, and enjoy it for Steven. As Johnny mentioned, he was only on the channel a couple of times. He had us over there a couple of times, and still, he left an impact and was always super gracious with his time. And just condolences to his family and to his friends. With that said, we are going to try to get down to business now and do some housekeeping, if you will. First up, would like to say thank you to our channel sponsors who allow us to come out here and do this at the capacity that we do still. Big shout out to Jason over at Backtrack Cinema. Big month of October planned from what I seen from what he was previewing. Jesse over at Jesse's Storytime Spectacular. Great place for pop culture talk. And Kaulignation, which has been on a bit of a 2.5 week hiatus, but will be active again starting tomorrow. Big shout out to all those guys. Without them, we can't be here doing what we're doing. And a big thank you to our patrons who pay for the bonus content. We are looking forward to doing Ahsoka. Is it episode 7? I believe it's episode 7.
Yeah, we got 2 more left.
Yeah, and that'll be, I think that will be tomorrow night. I'm not sure right at this moment. So I know there's a couple of you that watch live with us over on Patreon. Stay tuned for that. I got to discuss it with the boys after the show. So, all right. That being said, the show. There's some pop culture things to talk about on tonight's show, and there's also some announcements to talk about. And first up, we'll get to this announcement. It's a big one. It's an important one for Johnny and I. We are going to do a 10th anniversary episode, a reunion special, if you will, of Star Wars Wastelands, the project that made Fandom Empire and basically anything that has spawned after that possible. Without Wasteland's success, none of this other stuff ever happens, and YouTube doesn't happen, and Facebook doesn't happen, social media, etc. And you can't do Star Wars Wastelands properly, anyways, with just Johnny and myself for that episode. So we will be joined by our old co-host, our good friend Mondo, and as always, just like I said in the past, viewer discretion is strongly advised because you never know what's going to come out of his mouth or go in his mouth um, during an episode of Star Wars Wasteland. So, geez, that might be an episode to make me do the hot ones thing. I don't know how much I want to put that out there though. We'll see. But we're gonna have fun with the 10th anniversary special. It's gonna be just as long as a old Wastelands episode back in the day. We got 3 hours to fill, and the first half an hour or 40 minutes though is gonna be documentary style, where we're actually interviewed by someone else, and we'll go over the early days and how things happened, and how things went down, and what it was like from all three of our perspectives, because there was things going on in personal lives and it just the project in general. And Zach, host of Bannerman Banter, is going to be the interviewer for that. And then I can also tell you there will be multiple games played during that episode that we used to play back on Star Wars Wastelands. One of them will be trivia, which our boy here, Randy, will be invited to after his earth-shattering win against Johnny just last week. But we're hoping to have Ben Hart on. I still need to reach out to Ty Nelson and a few other people, but it's going to be a blast from the past. And we're also going to talk Star Wars too. What it was, what we think of what we were covering back then, now that we've had time to sit on it, but also what the future looks like. It'll be all Star Wars, nonstop Star Wars for about 3 hours or so. And without a shadow of a doubt, an insane amount of chaos that I take absolutely no responsibility for. So, looking forward to that. We don't have a date. I know what you're thinking. When's the date? When's the time? We don't, other than it's almost guaranteed to be on a Monday. Just for scheduling purposes, it probably needs to replace an episode of Bannerman Banter for this to happen. So, we will work amongst the main parties involved and hopefully have a date for you soon. But if I had to narrow it down, I would say sometime in the back half of October or at any point in November. I'm not sure. I just know it'll be sometime during then, because December is just always hell to get anything done in. Johnny, some brief thoughts on a Wastelands reunion, which I think honestly is due. 10 years. I know we're not doing it actively anymore, but without Wasteland, none of this is here, and I feel like 10 years is a big number to do a reunion on.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting opportunity. Like you said, anytime you can get us all together is going to be an experience. It's the most, if you've never experienced it, you're in for something special. I'll say that. And those of you that have been with us, all the way back to the original days, to the OGs, you're going to have a great time. It's going to be fun. It's going to be special. It's exciting. I look forward to it. It's, like you said, without it, we're not doing this today, most likely, and it definitely was sort of a turning point in the things we could do for us, in having an outlet to, do some of the things that we used to do. I mean, you and I have sort of, in some form or fashion, been doing podcast even for ourselves, for literally zero audience, unless someone happened to find the random tapes we recorded in the mid 2000s, which perfect world, I'd love to go back and see some of those to see how crazy we were then. But
someone has them. He's just not on speaking terms with either one of us, specifically you. All the crap that you get.
Me?
Yeah, you. That's right, you.
Don't you put that on me. We all know it was you that was sleeping with George's wife, not me.
Oh, how dare you!
Blasphemy
live on air.
Me. It's not blasphemy. It's factually accurate. All right.
George will never forgive you.
George sent me the pictures. Okay.
George is getting mad right now.
George sent me the pictures. Okay. He walked in on you. He saw it all. He sent me the pictures. So don't you put this on me, Bobby Boucher. And for those of you who have not been around long enough to understand the George character, well, that's something else altogether.
Yes.
Obviously,
don't get
not
to
a real
know.
person. But the George stories, though, foof. George goes back. Didn't we create him when we were doing trade deadline podcasts for no one?
George is real to me, damn it.
Well, yes, but I mean the origin of George. Didn't we create him in like 2005?
Let me just tell you, the ultimate Star Wars trivia game would be George versus Terrence. Just throwing that out there.
I say it needs to happen. It needs to happen.
I would watch that. I would love it.
With Mondo on commentary.
Oh, God, that would be the most amazing. Mondo would have to be the third contestant. It'd be
sorry, I'm coughing up.
That would make Mondo the straight man. I don't know if that works.
Anyways, Star Wars Wastelands 10-year anniversary coming sometime in the next 2 months. That's all we can tell you. But stay tuned. It'll be a ton of fun. Feature a bunch of different people. In the meantime, tonight we got some stuff to talk about, fellas. First up, some details about the Halloween game. There's some people that apparently are not happy with the I don't know if you can call it a trailer, but the footage that came out at State of Play, and don't like that Michael can morph into the shadows. And I just kind of thought to myself, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? Like, it's part of his MO. Like, whenever people used to watch the early Halloween movies, it's like he just
appeared out of nowhere.
Right? Like, so I don't know why people are being nitpicky about that. The shifting. I think the shifting is I think it's called shape shifting. But it not only does it look good, I think it functions good. Basically, you cannot do it in like a well-lit area, and you cannot do it if another player, now I don't know if this would account for NPCs too or just humans, but you cannot perform the shapeshift if someone else sees you. So it's more about getting yourself into position in order to act on it and have those Michael moments where he pops out from nowhere. There's definitely a little bit of strategy involved in it. And the other thing is there will be no you cannot kill him. AKA you can't kill the boogeyman. Real thing in the game.
I mean, to me, it sounds like some nice upgrades compared to what they did with Friday the 13th. Obviously, in Friday the 13th, Jason could just essentially warp at will for the most part once the ability loaded up, which was obviously made for some interesting gameplay. But with this, it sounds like they're really putting their best foot forward and giving you an opportunity to use the shifting properly. And I think that's something that's really going to add a lot of fun gameplay and a lot of fun jump scares for people who actually stream it. That's one of the things that I always loved about games like this is the potential for jump scares. And just from the trailer alone, oh yeah, this is going to be some fun. Like, people are dropping controllers. They're going to be screaming.
Randy?
It's going to
is
be
it me?
great.
Is it you
we
guys?
did for a second. No, I lost him as well there at the end of that.
Oh. Has Randy been
No,
silenced by the Cult of Thorn?
No, I'm still
We
here.
lost you about halfway through that.
Really? That's kind of weird because I kept on going and everything seemed fine, but that's not good.
It was one of those, you went kind of robotic and then just stopped.
Oh, yeah, that could be internet connection more than likely then.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is what was the last thing you heard that wasn't robotic?
You got towards, I'd say, probably the last 30 seconds we didn't hear.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
That's a lot to remember. I said quite a bit.
It's okay to say I lost my train.
It sounds like you're impressed, though, with the direction of the game.
So far, so good. Like I said, it seems like they're trying to make sure that you can very strategically use the shifting ability. Should make for a lot of great jump scares, uh, which I think is always going to be essential in any type of game like this. Because that was one of the fun parts with Friday the 13th, is being able to just appear out of nowhere and scare the shit out of somebody. So it's like I said, it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I think they're doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was one of the things I was most like. I don't want to say intrigued with, but it was one of the things that I was most sort of, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And then we got it, and I mean, is it different than what I was necessarily expecting? Yes and no, if that makes sense, because it is almost sort of a direct copy of what Jason could do in Friday, which, I had kind of hoped there'd be something different, but at the same time,
No, it's different. It's not the same, but it's similar. Jason could morph anywhere at any time and be right in front of the person. This, you cannot do that.
yeah, but that's why I said it's the same but different. Like it's this one more reminds me. There was another one Jason had where you could do that. It was the one that would like slow time, and you could run
Yeah,
faster
the
than the
morph.
people. No, that was a different one.
Yeah, there was
the
one where you
morph
would
and
slow
was
time
Straight
and you could.
teleport.
Yeah, there was one where you basically could just teleport to any part of the map you were on.
Yeah,
And then there was one where it slowed down time and you would basically put yourself right in front of
Yeah.
somebody
yeah.
from. So yeah, there was two
Yeah,
different
that's what I
abilities.
call the morph. Yeah.
No, because I think the teleport was actually called the morph. I think. Like I
I
think that was
can't
the actual
remember.
skill name. I think it's been a long time since I've played, so it might not have been, but that's what triggered in my brain anyway. But like it's one of those like, how else could you have achieved this? Because that is one of the inherent things that Michael was great at, being the shape, just that you'd close a door and bang, he's right there, and I'm for that. That is a huge part of the atmosphere of a Halloween movie. Is Michael's ability to just do that. To pan the camera one way and all of a sudden he's standing at the hedge staring at you and he wasn't there a second ago. Like those are things that are very important to Michael's character in essence. I don't, it's one of those things that I'm not, I'm neither for nor against it. It's one of those ones that I'm going to want to see how it's executed, like in actual gameplay, like when I actually get the chance to play it and experience it and get the final tweaks and fully put it out there and people get their hands on it to decide is it game breaking? Is it not? Is it exactly what we want it to be? Does it work the way it's intended? All of those questions are things we won't get until next fall. But, I'm not against the idea. It's one of those, this is interesting and see how it plays out. Could it be is this really the only way they could achieve that? Yeah, probably at the end of the day. And they are trying to make it more, him actually moving versus him teleporting or, being more of that element. So, I'll be interested to see like, the things like the execution of it. How visible can you be? Do you have to be completely unseen? Like, is this something you can only do early game and later game it becomes, unusable sort of thing? Or, how, like, what are the cooldowns on it? Those sort of things. Is it augmentable? Can you get power-ups and things like that through the course of, things like that? Because you have to assume there's going to be some element of that like you had in Friday the 13th and literally every other asymmetrical horror game in existence.
I
So
don't know if there will, if I'm being completely honest. I think they'll get to that, but from what we know, Michael is just the one Michael, right? Like,
well, I think there's still going to be augments to it. Like even with the different Jasons, you had different augments you could get and different power ups sort of things that would increase cooldowns, decrease things like that you could get within the character. So I assume there will be elements of that in it because there kind of has to be, to a degree. It'll just be to see how it's executed. Could they buck the trend and just have characters be characters? Yes, but I think that hurts replayability long term. But that's another discussion for another day that, we can have once we get a better idea of the actual game mechanics. We're just sort of seeing we're seeing what they want us to see stuff now. The stuff that gets us excited and gives us the hook. And this does achieve that for some people, I'm sure, that see the skill and they're like, oh, this is amazing.
Speaking of which, it sounds like we will see some story mode gameplay. I was going to say next month, but I suppose as early as tomorrow. But my guess is it'll be closer to Halloween when it is released. So we got a bunch of other stuff to get to on this show, though, fellas. So we're going to leave it at that. If anybody wants to bring it back to the Halloween game, you can always feel free to send in a super chat or just leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And if we have some time a little later on, we will read them, although we are sticking to a pretty tight show tonight just because there's a lot to do that we have coming up. And also, we will announce this. Next week's episode of The Mask of Fear, we will do our second episode of Real Picks. The first one, we had a guest on, Tommy B. This one, we hope to have a guest on, but we will see. And the first one, we did the top 10 MCU movies, and we had a list of rules we had to follow. Excuse me. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. We had to find a way to agree on a top 10 list, and we got it out there. And this time it will be a top 10 list again, and it will be the top 10 DC movies. Wording specific here, DC movies of the last 20 years. The top 10 DC movies of the last 20 years.
Are we limiting that in any way?
No animated, live action only.
I was about to say, there's so many animated, it's ridiculous.
DC in the last 20 years?
Live action only. We might be able to do our own damn animated countdown later on. I know there's a bunch of Batman ones I like.
They're the only exceptionally good ones that are more than like.
It's gonna make it hard. So, I can think of one movie that's gonna be on Randy and I's list and not on Johnny's. So.
Oh God, no! You assholes are gonna. Oh my God.
Oh, let me tell you, my friend, Randy and I will talk, and that movie is going to be in the top 10, whether you like it or not.
Somebody better bring a lot, because I'll Harry carry. I will filibuster.
Oh man. All right. So yeah, that's next week, next Tuesday night. Tune into that, and then the following Tuesday we'll be back with more trivia. Trivia will return with our second matchup, which I won't announce who's in it yet, but I will say that there's a good chance Johnny's going to have to do the questions for it. Okay. And it might be a 3-way. So we will see. But it gives people
a joke in there somewhere.
Well, yeah. I mean, you officiating a 3-way, what a shock. Is there anybody better? All right, let's get to this. Star Wars. Actually, hang on. There's one more piece of news that I don't have this for that I want people to calm down on. I know Braun Strowman is out there saying a lot right now. And I can say this after a conversation that I had today is people should not, I repeat, not read into that as Braun Strowman will imminently be playing Jason Voorhees. Now, do I think Braun Strowman could make a super good zombie type Jason from the later movies character? Fucking right he could. I think he absolutely could. If I have to choose between Braun Strowman and Derek Mears coming back, though, that's a no-brainer. It's Derek Mears all day long. But it's neither in terms of Crystal Lake. And if you read his wording, it's more of like if everyone could get on the same page. So, basically someone who had interest in creating something Friday the 13th, was hoping to get everybody on the same page again and release a Friday the 13th movie with Strowman playing Jason is about as much as you can read into that.
I have the exact quote here, if you want it.
Yeah, please do.
He said, there may be some talks about it with people that I know and my agency. If we could ever get everybody to get back on the same page and allow things to work, I might be the next Voorhees. He jokes. I would gladly shave this beard off to play that character. So, I mean, the runaway train that was this story over the weekend just made me go, guys, did you even read the actual quote?
A bunch of people didn't, apparently. Like, I sat there rolling my eyes at all the posts I was seeing about it and just feeling like, which one was yours again? Yeah, but which one? Sorry, 1 second, guys.
Well, I sent
just
it to you and
forget
you're
it.
thinking, oh, it's fake.
Oh, okay, so yeah, Jade had sent me just like a news clipping about it. I'm just like, yeah, that's fake. Like, there's nothing to it. So, but yeah, evening, Dustin. What's going on, brother? Strongly suggest you start back at the beginning of the show at some point, even if you go back and listen to the beginning. Or you can tune in with us now and go along with us. But yeah, just I've seen so many places. Strowman's the next Voorhees. Strowman's the next Voorhees. It's like the second he says that line where they're hoping to get everyone back on the same page, it's over, people. There's a reason you have Crystal Lake and that other thing that was something and now nobody fucking remembers and couldn't even tell you the title of it, Vanilla Sunday or something like that. What was the name of that thing now? I genuinely don't remember. Sweet Revenge. Why am I thinking of a day? Was there a fan film that was named after a day?
More than likely.
Yeah, it
was I'd rather not remember that. Just in general.
Oh, Randy wanted to give this thing an Oscar. That'll never forget. But
excuse me, really? I didn't say I was gonna give it a damn Oscar. What the hell? Of course, say it when I'm in the middle of the drink.
Compared to our negativity, you wanted to give it an Oscar.
Anything compared to your negativity is worth an Oscar. Let's put it that way.
You're not wrong, but that doesn't mean you're right.
Yeah, there might have been some minor misrepresentation there with what I said, but it felt that way. All right, let's get to it, though. Star Wars, big time player today, big time player over the next several weeks on the channel. And I'm warning people now, including my co-host, and I thought long and hard about this, that as long as we're in the business of doing Star Wars content and news, you have to be in the business of Star Wars leaks as well, or else you're just not doing your job properly. I feel a little bit better about this one because it's not coming from Jeff Snyder. It's not coming from Bespin Bulletin. It's not coming from Making Star Wars or a major trade. It is, however, it started with Jeff Snyder's co-host, which maybe that's not a whole lot better. But I believe the chances of both of these things being accurate are incredibly high. So that's as much as I can really give people of a warning. And one's pertaining to Starfighter, and the other one, which we've already talked about this one actually, but it's, reared its head up again. And then the other one is pertaining to Ahsoka Season 2. And that's a big one. I gave some hints in our group chat about that one when I sat down and read the story and was like, oh, okay, let me get my popcorn. But we'll start with Starfighter. So it has gotten out there what we've talked about, that actually, I guess it's more information than that now. So Amy Adams' character is apparently a survivor from Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple. Okay, so that adds a interesting new wrinkle to that movie. The kid is Force sensitive. I believe Ryan Gosling plays her brother, but now there's some other reports out there saying he's just hired to do a job. So maybe he's pretending to be her brother in public or something with the kid. I don't know. But Amy Adams' character is apparently a survivor from Luke's temple. Her kid, played by Finn, I forget his name. Might not even be Finn now that I think of it, but he's Force sensitive. And we've already talked about on this movie the what if this is to all get him at the end of the movie to Rey, which is apparently the case. The backlash that this has gotten from, I hate using like the lefts and the rights, but it's the first time I've seen the sequel trilogy, firmly against it, firmly for it argument kind of come up in a while. The last week since this came out from John Roca was where it originated from. And like, I get it. Some people are going to see Rey's name attached and immediately go, I'm out. I'm out. This is terrible. This is awful. I'm out. Even if she's only in the movie for, 1 to 5 minutes, let's say, which is what I would assume it would fall in. I don't know about you guys. When it came to Rey in the sequels, I had, like, out of all my problems with the sequel trilogy, Rey was never one of them. Not when she was Rey Nobody, not when people thought she was Rey Skywalker, not Rey Palpatine. My problem with those movies is not Rey. Let's start there. Is Rey a problem?
I never had a problem with the character. I was always curious as to her lineage, and obviously they hinted at something in the first movie, and we got to see her grow and and the character did develop. It's not like there was no character development at all. We see her, just a humble scavenger moving on to be essentially becoming a Jedi Knight for the most part. Obviously not being dubbed one, but essentially getting to that point. And honestly, yeah, there was really no issues there. You could sit there and be like, well, her skills, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, obviously she trained in between at least the last two movies, but also sometimes you have a Force savant who has the ability to immediately be good with the Force. It's not, out of the realm of possibilities, and especially considering it's happened in the Legends novels. So again, it's just she was. I mean, I always felt like it was a decent character. I always felt like, that she had potential to be more. And I feel like with this movie, we can get to that point where we can have a jumping off point to see just how far she's come. And I'm all for that. I'd like to really see just what she's done.
I mean, my only real issue with Rey was I'm Rey Skywalker. Just because you had a chance to do something original, be the first of your name, not the next of another name. Like that's my only real issue. And that's it. Like, that's not a substantive. That's a writing choice. That's there's nothing inherently wrong with the character. Everything you said is true. Like, Force savants exist even outside of Star Wars. The people who are adept from the start. They train progressively faster. They immerse themselves progressively quickly. Use your examples. Like, obviously Anakin is meant to be like the the paragon, the balance of good. He's supposed to be the best among us, but I mean, he's channeling the Force in episode 1. Like the pod racing, the flying the Naboo, all of those things. Like, you don't think he tapped
Dude
into
was
the
probably
Force to do all
channeling the
that?
Force from his fucking mom's womb.
Exactly. Like, and then you go to Luke. I mean, how much training did Luke have? I guarantee you, at the end of episode 9, Rey had more training as a Jedi than Luke had when he blew up the first Death Star.
Oh, way more. Not even
Like,
close.
so it's it's ridiculous to say that, like, could you be like, oh, well, okay, like the fight with Kylo in the forest, okay, maybe you might have a case for that, but the fact is she was already well trained in martial combat with her use of the staff. Like, it's not like fighting with a lightsaber is really all that different than fighting with a staff. You just go from a weapon that's, that a lightsaber would slice through to one that it wouldn't. Like, the movements are still inherent. Like, if you swap Anakin's lightsaber with a vibro blade, is it going to be all that different? Not really. He's just using a sword instead of a lightsaber. Like, if you learn combat, you learn combat. She knew combat. She learned how to survive on a swamp, a sand planet filled with like pirates and cutthroats and thieves, and was obviously well versed in combat. So, like, that's fine. Like, it's just, when she uses the Force to pull the blade from him, that's different. Like, that's a measure of Force strength and ability that, like, you could make the case that, well, Kylo is properly trained. He trained with Luke. He's, received training from Palpatine through Snoke, but we don't know that at this point. Like, it's, Rey, who was at that point completely untrained in the Force, outforcing Kylo is maybe a little much, but that's a plot device. She's still, the granddaughter of a Palpatine. Like, it's, the Force is in her. Like, her, I'm loath to say this sentence, but I imagine her midichlorian count is pretty fucking high. I can't believe I just said that sentence and actually meant
This
it.
will
Wow,
be
did
on
that
the
hurt?
internet forever.
It did. It really did.
How much did that hurt you?
All of it, the whole sentence. But like, it's, if midichlorians are a measure of Force strength, which,
wow, he said it again.
Allow, I did. I feel like I want to vomit, but, like, if you take the science out of it and use midichlorians as, your ability to tap into the Force, I don't as much hate that, because it, does sort of, like, as long as you don't use midichlorians as your Force count, like, but like your ability to use it sort of metric, then I don't hate it as much. But, like, you'd assume she has a high count. Her M count is high. That one felt better. But, it's not to say that Rey's story is all that bad. Like, it's not. Like, is it bad? Yes, but it's bad because the writing of the trilogy is bad. Like, it's not a fault of her own. It's the Anakin Skywalker problem. It's the Hayden Christensen problem. Was Hayden's performance bad? Yes. Was it because the writing was bad? Probably. And Sean and I have had this argument with Kieran a great many times. That it's not, the actor can only zhuzh up bad writing so far, and let's be honest, the writing was the weakest part of the sequel trilogy. So to say she's a problem is just inherently, if your problem is with her writing, I'll allow it. If your problem is with her performance, I guess that's subjective, so I'll allow it. If your problem is with almost anything else, I won't, because you're an idiot.
So, there's a big part of me that just thinks the second some people hear there's even a sliver of involvement with the sequel trilogy, they're out immediately, and then we'll begin telling you why it's going to be terrible. Again, keep in mind, I thought The Force Awakens was amazing. At the time, I thought The Last Jedi was garbage. I don't feel that way now. I'm very unsure how I feel about the movie, but I don't think it was garbage. And The Rise of Skywalker, I think, is the worst cinematic release they've ever done by a country mile. So it's a mixed bag for me. But like, when they announce people that a new movie's coming out, and it takes place only 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker, what did you think was going to happen? Like, do you think we're not going to see stormtroopers? I mean, we might not, but I kind of think we will. I would think that the First Order will have a First Order remnant around, if not, super ingrained everywhere, still, scattered, much like the Imperial remnant was. There's going to be imagery from the sequel trilogy that's probably going to set you off if you're that, against it, that you're not willing to give it its due or a proper chance. I think it sounds like a great idea. It's just, what do they follow it up with? Randy, I don't think you got to give your take yet on it.
I did, but I was going to add, obviously, if we're going to have the First Order remnant, you've also got to think of, there's also the Hutt cartel, there's the other crime syndicates. There's going to be, there could be a faction of the Night Sisters that we don't know about, we don't really know who truly the big bad is. So I know for you guys, as long as they don't go to Canto Bight, I think you're fine with it. But beyond that, there's so many possibilities for the big bad that I think really just, people just need to relax. If Rey is really the Rey in the First Order remnants, the only thing that comes from the sequel trilogy, I think we're fine. As long as we don't, get Johnny saying the M word what too many more times, to the point of where we get somehow Palpatine returned again, I think we'll be good.
So the other thing that's out there, no, I'm not buying it at all. It doesn't line up. Like, you see the kid in the photo with Gosling. How old do we think he is? I'm going to guess that he's way too young to be, or way too old to be 5 or 6. But I also don't think he's, 14 or 15. He's probably somewhere between the ages of like 9 and 12 is my guess. So if you did even some twisting at 12 years old, following the timeline and what happened, that would put him as basically born the year that Kylo and the Knights of Ren dust the temple, 7 years before The Force Awakens, and conceived before that. So I guess, theoretically speaking, age-wise, it would line up if he's around 12. But there are already people out there saying, and again, no one tangible, and I hate when they do this with someone's appearance, even though sometimes it ends up being this, but they go, oh, Amy Adams, reddish hair. Maybe she's actually Mara Jade Skywalker.
Oh, God.
And that the kid is actually a Skywalker who goes to train with Rey, who was in fact trained by a Skywalker. And that would bleed. Like, I don't hate the idea. I think with the right person in charge, and I'm not saying Jonathan Tropper and Sean Levy aren't that. I think with the right people in charge, that would work. The problem I have with it is I feel like this rumor is only a thing because of Amy Adams' hair color, and the timing of the ages of characters is just a convenience. Again, I think with the right people in charge and the right story development, something like that could work, and it would, add to Luke disappearing for all those years even more, thinking he lost, perhaps his pregnant wife at that time, who he ran the temple with. There are ways that this can happen, much like the way Ahsoka happens. But again, when your main point is because of Amy Adams' hair color, you've lost me. I think them just saying that she's a Jedi from his temple is already a slippery slope. Again, one I'm open to, but, I kind of don't blame. I'm usually not one to take the fan side on coming up with dumb rumors. But if it is true that she is a survivor from Luke's temple, and the times just so happen to line up that it could have happened, I don't blame the fans for wanting this. I don't. even if clinging to someone's hair color is more than just grasping at straws. Thoughts, boys?
No, 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 no. If you were gonna go down this road, it should have been the sequel trilogy. I'm sorry, but like you don't introduce a Luke Skywalker child after Luke's dead. That is just absolutely not. Do not. That is just no. It is rage bait inducing. Like I
So you
understand.
don't want them to do what George Lucas did with Luke,
What?
technically speaking. Well, think about it. Luke is the long lost son of this dead Jedi we hear about in A New Hope. Very much lines up with that, even though we find out that Anakin technically is not dead. In a different movie, it does kind of line up with A New Hope a bit. And this is the 50th year anniversary of
I
that,
mean,
too.
the difference is, at least to me anyway, and I guess they'll also be like, oh, what? George knew Anakin was Vader from the start. Like he may have changed his mind and waffled on the twins element and Luke being Leia's sister and all of that, but like I don't think there was ever an iteration of this where Luke and Vader weren't father and son. So like
I
that
don't know.
always
George has changed his damn mind so many times
absolutely
on
he has, but I don't ever remember that being said. And like even if you go back to like the earliest like Star Killer versions of the story, I feel like it was always that they were father and son. The Leia thing came later, obviously as evidenced by the fact he had them make out a movie before realizing, yeah, they're actually twins. What?
Well, it didn't come later. What happened was he had that from the beginning, the twin aspect of it, because it was more prominent. It was supposed to be a more prominent thing in the first movie, and he removed it altogether, and then ended up going back to it, kind of John Carpenter-ish.
So like it's one of those that like I mean to me that, and I know this sounds weird, like when you actually put the dates down and figure out the math and everything, it mathematically lines up. But like no point in the headcanon in my brain sees Amy Adams and Mark Hamill as a couple. Like this, my brain does not wrap around that in a way that makes sense. Like thematic, like storyline wise, timeline wise, all of that, it does line up. Like I actually checked it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize Amy Adams was as old as she was. I mean, Amy Adams is 54 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So like
character-wise, they do.
character wise, absolutely they do. The persons don't, because Amy looks much younger than that, and Mark
Well, it's a
looks
good
much
thing
older
they
than
don't
that.
need Mark to appear on screen anymore now, does it?
And like it just I can't like, because to me then that opens up a whole can of worms in the sequel trilogy. Like you could sort of write it away. Luke thinks they're dead. He goes into hiding on Octu, cuts himself off from the Force. Fine. I could tolerate to that point. When he reconnects with the Force, why does he not have an immediate realization of, oh shit, my wife's not dead and neither is my son?
I mean, there are examples of planets where people can be
You're right. There
not
are.
as
I mean, I guess if you
attuned.
point to Skeleton Crew, as a prime example of a planet that's
Well,
been cut off from the outside
don't
world.
forget that the reason that Yoda went to Dagobah was because of the pull and the strength of the dark side of the Force, which masked
The
his
ability to
presence.
mask his presence.
You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. Those are, I don't. Those points aren't unfathomable, but to me, it just like I don't. We're talking about Luke Skywalker, not Rey Mysterio. It just like to me it just I don't like inherently I don't like it feels like a cop out at this point. Like it's one of those we're trying to reunite the fan base. This is how that's not the way to do it. Like you're just going to still end up with like you're trying to bring Legends fans back, but like you're dividing off another chunk now. Like it's not the unifying force you would think it is, because it's just not, like, is there a way you could tell that story and I'd be okay with it? I suppose. Like
It's not going to happen, though. Here's why it's not going to happen. Sean Levy was pretty adamant that this is a standalone story. Doesn't mean it can't lead into things, but I think having Ray pop up at the end of the movie, which I think is very, very likely, like if someone told me to put a percentage on that right now, even being this far out from the movie, I would say it's like 95% chance it happens. That's how confident I am in that. That alone is a pretty big caveat to have in your standalone movie. But also, if Amy Adams' character is in fact a random Jedi survivor from Luke's temple, then that's still a caveat on its own. Because even though it's her backstory, it's bound to come up. So, yeah, I think there's some interesting possibilities here for sure. But I really don't get mad at fans for grasping at this one, because the second you make her from Luke's temple, man, they start head mathing it, and it's probably just a coincidence, but the math lines up quite a bit. I don't blame people for that. I don't. Especially with what we ended up getting, you know? I agree it should have been the sequel trilogy, but they made their bed with that, right? And I don't think they're ever going to be the ones that go, okay, Star Wars is doing this new movie, but these three don't matter. I know that's what a lot of people want, but I don't see that happening. They're not going to Halloween it, if you will. So, that's where we stand. Now let's get to in my opinion, what's the big one? And I don't believe Johnny and Randy have any knowledge of this one unless they ran into it. Ahsoka season 2 finishes filming this week. They actually just did their wrap party early. A lot of images have been coming out. I think they're just doing some like pickups, and I think they got some reshoots scheduled for November or December. But principal photography is basically finished. And they just got done finishing this is the quote, massive battle sequence that far and away outdoes anything we see in season 1. And the primary piece of this battle sequence is, and that's how it was worded, is one character versus another character. We're going to have a little fun with this, and we'll see who gets it right first. Again, this is supposed to be one of, if not the biggest battle that takes place in season 2 in terms of hand-to-hand combat. And it primarily involves 2 characters and was described as this massive sequence, big set piece that they just finished doing. Randy, Johnny's been around a while. I'm going to give you first shot here. You won trivia. Who do you think the 2 people are?
See, that's really hard because obviously, is the big battle going to be in, our familiar galaxy, or is it going to be set in the world between worlds? Is it going to be set in wherever Balin is in terms of, the Mortis gods? It's really hard to really figure it out. But if truly the Mortis gods truly are involved, and we do get to see kind of what that was all meant to be in from Clone Wars, as we know, Ahsoka and Anakin have ties to that, and they were supposed to represent a part of that. It would not surprise me in any way, shape, or form to have a Force Ghost battle of sorts. And I'm gonna just throw a wild swing out there, and I'm gonna say Anakin versus Revan.
You have one of the names right, and as it was described, not a Force ghost. At least that's not what it appears to be. Johnny, you want to take a shot?
I mean,
You only get one, and then I'm revealing.
I mean, I hope that of those two, the correct one was Anakin, because if this is the avenue in which you bring Revan, I am not happy.
No, that was a Lego movie.
Which I knew that, but like, I just I mean, to bring Anakin to live or to bring Revan to live action in this is not. I don't want that. Either tell his story or don't. Just don't make him an ancillary character in a project like this. So I am going to take an outside swing. I'm going to jump out of the box because I think to me it would make sense, and it's out there suggestion, but I'd like it to be Kanan. Because it sort of meshes well with the Masters thing. You had Anakin, who was obviously Ahsoka's master, and to now have Kanan, who is obviously Ezra's, I think sort of brings a balance to that I would like to see. Now, it's probably not going to be that, but it's probably going to be like Obi-Wan or something, because we already saw him do the hair and basically tell us he was in it already. So I'd like it to be Kanan, but I think it's Obi-Wan.
So the battle again was described to me as not Force ghosts. They appear to be actually there. Mind you, this is no editing though, and Force ghosts glow. It's not like they're glowing on set, right? So who the hell
Damn, I
knows?
thought they did.
But the battle is apparently between one Anakin Skywalker and Balon Skull. Mono a mono is the big battle that was just filmed.
Anakin whoop his ass.
But would he, if Balon has given himself over to the Mortis gods?
Okay, fair.
Yeah, there's some complicated things here, and again, this was described as a massive battle sequence, so I do believe other parties are involved, but the focus during this is on Anakin versus Balin. So, if true, I think that has the opportunity to be so gold in multiple ways, and I'm going to share the second one for you in a second. But like, it makes me wish Ray Stevenson was still with us to see Hayden and Ray go down like that. Would have been awesome. And that's not to knock man, who's the actor that played the Hound? Rory McCann. Not to knock him. I think he's going to do a really good job with whatever he brings to the table. But let me tell you something. Kieran, who we know is a massive Hayden Christensen fan, and those of you that watch the channel,
lightning saying that,
know that Kieran is not a massive Hayden Christensen fan, but rather
the opposite,
a hater, a massive hater.
There's not a ringing in Kieran's ears right now. It's more like a scream.
For many years, I don't know if it still stands today, his favorite Game of Thrones character was the Hound. And to know that Hayden is going to go up against the Hound, and I would assume win, brings a joy to my face that I can only describe as the next best thing to Christmas morning opening presents. Yes.
It definitely brings a smile to my face, that's for sure.
But thoughts, guys. Thoughts on the battle. Anakin versus Balin. If you're going all Mortis, I would assume Anakin could probably just appear the way he did in the World Between Worlds. I mean, it might even happen in the World Between Worlds, but the way the set was described, I don't think so. I think this is happening on Peridia or Mortis or wherever. I like the idea of this.
I think to say it'll still take place in the World Between Worlds, much the same way as Ahsoka's flashbacks to the Clone Wars were in the World Between Worlds, but weren't on the pathway that we most commonly conceive of when we say the world between worlds. So I think it'll be there, but the actual battle location will be elsewhere. You know what I'm trying to say? So like I think it's definitely not something I would have expected, yet at the same time is something we should have expected.
Dustin mentions maybe a flashback to Anakin fighting Balin during the Clone Wars. That was asked and that was shot down. It's believed to be in current time.
I imagine the simple answer to that would be that Anakin wasn't wearing the gear for the Clone Wars, and that would be different.
So. I believe he's in his Revenge of the Sith gear.
Yeah, he'd most likely be in robes, so that wouldn't put it during the Clone Wars.
So I would assume that since Anakin was chosen during the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars, I would assume that because Balin presents a threat to the Mortis gods and basically going back to where everything began and trying to end of the beginning of the Force, essentially, that the Mortis gods would once again bring back Anakin as their champion to help defend against Balin. That would be my guess.
I don't know how many of the Mortis gods would be on his side necessarily. I think it all depends if they go the Abeloth route with any of this. So many things up in the air. Dustin asks, you said not a Force ghost. Is he a Force ghost in the world between worlds? So I would describe it as this. Yes, Anakin is a Force ghost in the world between worlds, but he's Anakin. It's the world between worlds. He's the chosen one. There's no real need for the glow to be there. In fact, if you are watching The Last Jedi with Luke and Yoda as the temple's burning, Yoda almost basically becomes like completely there with Luke. There's no glow for a bit. And then the glow comes back on the zoom out stuff. Is Anakin Skywalker dead might be the better question. And I think the answer to that is yes, but he's also Anakin Skywalker. And, you know, the way they've built the Force Ghost lore up the last half a decade or so, it's very much those that are stronger with it can do more stuff with it, appear more clear, make contact with the real physical world, which we've seen multiple times now. I think it'll be Anakin against Balin without the little glowy thing. It might be more like what Johnny said. It might be on Mortis itself, right? Or Peretti, or however you want to look at it. But it's interesting, and it's a big one. So I'm excited. I hope this is one that doesn't pan out to be a no-go. I'd feel a lot better about it if it's Bespin Bulletin or Jeff Snyder reporting on it, but it is Jeff Snyder's co-host, so you can't rule it out, needless to say. That, though, I think is going to do it for our show tonight, because I'm under the weather. We will be... Just stay tuned. I don't want to say we'll be back tomorrow night for sure, or not as of yet. It might get delayed a week, so... but we will be back soon, and the next episode of this show, we will be doing real picks again. This time, the top 10 DC live-action movies of the last 20 years. You won't want to miss that. That's 2005 through 2025. And it's a long list, so we will see what comes of that. Randy, where can everybody find you at, man?
So, over on X, you can find me at Giggity Giles, obviously here every Tuesday. And when it calls for it, or when I'm asked to appear, every so often on Bannerman Banter on Mondays. And once again, with the NFL season in full gear, recording weekly now for the Sports Brew. If you like football, drinking, bullshit, and just all around fun and chaos, give us a look up. You can Google us at Sports and Brew. You should find us, no problem.
Johnny B.
Oh, you can find me here, there, and everywhere.
And you can find us here every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, doing our thing. Lots of stuff to come in the month of October. We're going to be doing a lot of fun, interactive stuff, including some watch parties on some of these Tuesdays of some of your favorite Halloween movies and more. So stay tuned for that. Big thank you to our patrons who subscribe for the bonus content. Link to our Patreon is in the description below, patreon.com/The Mask of Fear. And a big shout out to our channel sponsors one more time. Ryan over at Kaulignation, Jesse at Jesse's Storytime Spectacular, and the one and only Mr. Jason Knight over at Backtrack Cinema. Love what those guys do. And then, obviously, as we talked about, off the top, unfortunately, our former friend of the show, rather, was on here a couple of times with us. Steven from Craven Something Scary has recently passed, and our condolences and thoughts go out to him, his family, his friends. He was one of the good ones. Steven, this one's for you, man. Have a good night, everybody.